Probably the best way to understand the event dispatcher is to see it in action. So let's take a look at some examples. I'm going to go back to the resource pack directory, and let's open up step 47, framework.php, adding dispatcher. Copy the code that's in this file, and paste it over the code in your framework.php file, and save it. Now let's compare this file with our previous framework.php example. This is going to be step 44, and I'm going to drag these over to my file comparison tool. So at the top, we've added a line for using the event dispatcher namespace. We're setting up a dispatcher variable to be able to use within our class. In our constructor, we're expecting a dispatcher to be passed to this function. So again, what we're doing here is dependency injection, so we don't create the event dispatcher within this class and then run into problems later when we're trying to test this code. We're type hinting to make sure that the variable that gets passed in is actually an event dispatcher, otherwise it will throw an error. And then we're assigning this variable to a property of the class. So this dispatcher is now going to be this value. So you can see that these three lines have changed here, and the solid purple that you see is the actual text that's changed. So in our new version, we're setting a response variable. In the old version, we returned the value from our call user func array. The idea here is that regardless of what our response is, we want to run the event dispatcher on our response. If we return a value, we can't do anything with it first. So we set the value to a response, regardless of what creates the response. Again, we're either returning a value from a valid callback function for a controller, or we're setting a 404 response or an error 50 response. Finally, we dispatch the event, and we do so by using the dispatch method of the dispatcher. This takes two parameters. The first is the name of the event, and this is a name that we're coming up with. This could be anything. And the second is an instance of an event object that includes all of the parameters that we need to pass to our listeners. Now, this is going to be a little confusing until you see all the pieces put together. Then we'll come back around and take a look at how it's all pieced together again. This class, response event, is one that we're going to create, and we're going to extend or inherit from the event class that's part of the event dispatcher. We're going to pass two values into the response event, our response and our request. And this again is custom to our event. An event can be for anything. It can affect the response and request like this will, or it can do something else that alters some other piece of functionality. For example, if we wanted a listener to take a look at forms and allow us to adjust forms before their output, the variables that we're going to pass in through our event class is going to be different. It might be an array of form elements. So a lot of this is custom, but the basic structure is going to be the same for our various events. This response is the name of the method, and the second is an instance of an event class or something that inherits from the event class. This is basically setting up our hook. In Drupal, you might be familiar with module invoke or module invoke all. This is very similar to that same kind of functionality. By itself, it won't really do anything except set up somewhere where other parts of our code can plug in and alter these values.